What's up, my beer bros? Beer Maniac here with Week 3 NFL Power Rankings for the 2018-2019 season. And a couple little side notes. I will be making a playlist for the whole season of Power Rankings and a separate playlist for the weekly game predictions as well. I don't know how long I can keep up this tone, this volume, or anything else. So I do apologize if it makes the audio sound weird. I am not quite aware of how it sounds in the microphone, and I hate listening to my own voice. So that's also a thing that makes you cringe. Now anyway, quick note. Right side, biggest loser. Left side, biggest winner. That's going to be the basic format so much. This works more like a podcast. So maybe turn on or turn up the volume if you're watching this and just do something like maybe play Pokemon Showdown on the computer or do Sudoku puzzles or something like that. It's just more something to listen to than look at, I should say. At number 32, we have the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen shows a little bit of promise. Injury to Shady McCoy might be a little questionable. The Buffalo Bills wide receivers have shown up a little bit better than I thought they would. Not tremendously better, but a little bit better. The offensive line still playing like booty, and the defense is still okay. At number 31, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I almost said St. Louis Cardinals because I'm watching the MLB Network right now as well. They dropped 2 spots to number 31. When you average 3 points per game in the first 2 games, can't really rate you much higher. Sam Bradford has played absolutely awful. I think it's Josh Rosen time in Arizona. Defense, they have a good defense, but it's hard to play well when your offense can't score points. It really is. And then you have the Raiders at number 30, gaining 1 spot as well. Their offense played better, played more solid. Defense played more solid as well. I'm not sure if that's more of a product of just playing Case Keenum in the Broncos, but they at least show promise for an improved season. But at this point, starting 0-2, I'm not sure, because I think it's something like 1-9 teams, 1-10 teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs. So this team could turn it around and be 8-8, and I think at this point it would be a win, considering you did just trade away Khalil Mack at the beginning of the season. So this is definitely an interesting team to watch. Definitely a team that could probably upset a lot of teams that you wouldn't expect them to. They do have the talent to do it, but it's just not clicking right now. And then at number 29, we have the Detroit Lions. Almost put them below the Raiders. And I'm not quite sure why I didn't. I think these teams are more 29A and 29B than anything else. Lions gained 1 position. They played against San Francisco 49ers and lost. They are now 0-2. Last place in the division. Against the Bears, Packers, and Lions. Against the Bears, Packers, and Vikings. I apologize. Matthew Stafford in the offense looked more stable. He didn't cost me in my fantasy league week by himself again. So that's good. Defense looks a little bit better, but they do have a tough test this week against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks dropping 6 spots to number 28. Russell Wilson, I think, is under some of the most duress he's ever been in his life. Doug Baldwin is still hurt. One thing I do want to know about the Seahawks that has been a positive is Dillsley, I think is his name, the tight end for the Seahawks, coming out of nowhere and having a solid season so far. That's good. But with that offensive line, no. Any football fan, not good or bad football fan, any football fan knows if you have no offensive line, it cuts your chances of winning in half. Even if you have the Russell Wilson at quarterback, even if you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, having a good offensive line to having no offensive line at all cuts your chances in half. And I think this is what I'm seeing in Seattle. Maybe they improve. Hopefully they do. At number 27, we have the Jets dropping 4 spots with the darling Sam Darnold showing some of his rookie-ness, I guess. But it's not really a bad thing. Sam Darnold played like a rookie, but I'm not going to say I didn't expect him to. It's going to have growing pains in his rookie season. I mean, if you want to look at legendary quarterbacks with bad rookie seasons, there is no better one to look at than Peyton Manning. I mean, he had one of the worst rookie seasons I have seen in my life. But look how he turned it around. He turned it around well. Saying that, Sam Darnold still performed well. I like the combination of Bilal Powell and Crowell at running back. I really like that combination. At wide receiver, having Robbie Anderson is good. Quincy Nunwa looks to be a one of the favorite targets for Sam Darnold, which is good. You want to be able to spread the ball around. And that defense looks solid. Marcus May didn't start. I'm not sure if it's because of injury or if he was like just inactive as like number 46 on the team, and you have to like make 7 inactive kind of thing. But if him and Adams are healthy, patrolling that backfield, and to me it makes that defense a lot better. And then you have the Cowboys at number 26 with a solid win over the Giants. Played well. I should say between week 1 and week 2, everybody played better. I think I saw people on Twitter saying Jalen Smith played better with Sean Lee, and if that's the case, that's good for the Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence playing extremely well as well. The offensive line picking up a little bit, but I struggle with not knowing if this was more Cowboys than it was Giants just imploding like the Giants have been lately. But if the Cowboys keep this up with another solid performance next week, I'm not saying they have to win, but if they perform extremely solid, make it a close game, lose or win, I think they go up again. Dak Prescott, to me, hasn't looked like a franchise quarterback, but he doesn't exactly have a franchise wide receiver either. Hopefully the combination of him and Allen Hurns steps up a little bit with a little bit more chemistry. That has been proven, I think, before with quarterbacks and wide receivers, is if they're just starting to play together after the first few weeks, they start to click more, they start to play better. So hopefully that happens with the Cowboys. I know they were on the Josh Gordon sweepstakes and narrowly lost out, but maybe they can pick someone else up soon. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers gaining 1 spot for me to number 25. I think the whole team played better, but I guess the surprise star for me on the 49ers is Breida. I don't remember if I said anything about him the week before, but Breida played solid. If they can have a running back play that well, that will put a lot less pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo and give him a lot more options on that offense. I look back to the Atlanta offense that Kyle Shanahan ran with Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. If they can get running backs like that in San Fran, that should help Jimmy Garoppolo almost as much as it helped Matt Ryan. And I'm saying almost because San Fran does not quite have Julio Jones. But they could find one soon. Who knows? They look to be a solid team. It looks to me like they might be the second best team in the NFC West. Granted, that's because the Seahawks and Cardinals are looking absolutely horrid, but still, should be interesting. And then you have number 24, we have the New York Giants, or as I like to call them, the New Jersey Giants, since they play in Jersey. They dropped 10 spots all the way to 24. I'll be like the first one to admit, I overranked them in week 1 when they actually had a solid performance against the Jaguars, or week 2, I should say, when they performed solid against a great team in the Jaguars. Lost by only a few points, but they absolutely stunk it up against the Cowboys. I don't really think anybody played too well for the Giants. That O-line played like shit. In my notes, I don't have specific names, and that is my error. I'll try to do that better next time. I'll try to do is write like 3 pages for the power rankings and have teams and little briefs, reasons, and stuff like that. Maybe that'll help hasten the process of these recordings. But worst offensive line play I've seen in recent history. The Eli Manning GIF, the funniest thing I've ever fucking seen in my life. That face he made looked like he was about to pull a Vontae Davis. It was just hilarious. Granted, it is never funny to see a quarterback get hit like that, with knowing there's always a potential for a quarterback when he's hit that often to get hurt. Now, I've seen quarterbacks get hit hard and be fine. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when a quarterback gets hit hard and a quarterback gets hit often in a game, if you get hit hard every time, that increases your chance of injury by quite a bit, even if you are Eli Manning. We've seen it before with Aaron Rodgers when he got hit by Minnesota last year. We've seen it with Andrew Luck when he gets hit a lot. You can be durable as a quarterback, but if you get hit 50 times in a game, you might get hurt. And if Eli gets hurt, the Giants have no one behind them because they drafted Saquon Barkley at number 2 instead of a quarterback. Which I'm not saying is a bad decision. Saquon looks good, but with that O-line, nobody looks good. Browns number 23 dropping 3 spots. Tyrod played a lot more solid. They dropped more so because of the people in front of them than them themselves. They lost a close game to the Saints, which everyone considered a Super Bowl contender or at least a playoff contender at the beginning of the year. Saints don't look too good either, but Browns defense stepped up a little bit. Myles Garrett's putting in a impressive performance so far. And I like what Carlos Hyde has been doing. Jarvis Landry has been very solid, and Njoku's been improving for the Browns as well. I do like that. They look to be on the uptick. They are now 0-1-1. They're not 0-2, so there is that. But still, you barely lose to the Saints. You were in position to possibly win or go into overtime again, and you tied the Steelers because you got a missed field goal. One thing to note is they did change kickers. They did sign Greg Joseph, a rookie who didn't make it for the Miami Dolphins in preseason, but he's now Brown. And the Browns kicker, Zane Gonzalez, missed 8 total points. I believe it was 2 field goals, 2 extra points. If he didn't miss those 8 points, they would have possibly beat the Saints. So think about that. The Browns are a blocked field goal and 8 missed points in this week from being 2-0. That is like the Chargers last year. Not going to lie. Number 22, we have the Indianapolis Colts moving up 5 spots. Andrew Luck played a lot better. I think the whole running back core played a lot better as well. Wide receivers, tight ends, they all played solid. The defense played amazing. Andrew Luck's not even a player to note in this one. The player to note in this one is a linebacker. I believe he's a linebacker from the Indianapolis Colts, managing damn near 20 tackles this week. I think it was 15 solo and 16 total. Correct me if I'm wrong, feel free. But he played tremendously, and if the Colts can get performances like that from him and Jabal Sheard for the rest of the year, this defense could actually be formidable and challenge for a wild card spot, which would be amazing because Indianapolis hasn't really had a solid playoff run since Andrew Luck's been healthy, and I'm not including when they made the playoffs and got beat by 40-something points or 20-something points. That's not really a solid playoff run. Sorry, but I'm not counting it. Maybe they could make a solid run this year or next year. I mean, even if they don't play too well, if they nail the draft next year, this could definitely be a division contending team, depending on what happens with the other team. And then you have the Redskins dropping number 4, or dropping 4 spots to number 21. They did lose to the Colts, but they are 1 spot ahead of the Colts. I was going to originally drop them below the Colts at number 22 and have the Colts be 21, but with the addition of signing 2 wide receivers, I think the offense should have more consistency. Adrian Peterson has been playing not Adrian Peterson like Adrian Peterson in his prime, and not Adrian Peterson in the Saints kind of Adrian Peterson, but he's playing like a solid running back. Alex Smith playing like the game manager Alex Smith, which isn't technically what Washington needs right now, but the defense has been solid. I think it was more of a damn these Colts situation than the Redskins situation themselves. The Redskins could be a team that are on the mend, which would be nice because I like when the Redskins are competitive. I haven't really seen them competitive since RG3's rookie year. I mean, last year was okay, but you know. And also, a little side note, like 27th to like 16th here, probably one amazing win or one amazing loss away from being close to each other. So I'm not dissing your team if they're not in the top 16. I mean, 16, 17 after a horrible loss could very well be 26, depending on how the teams perform. These are very close teams because this is a very close year. At number 20, we have the Miami Dolphins cracking the top 20 for the first time in my power rankings, I think, since early last year, or or I don't even know if they cracked the top 20 last year now that I think about it. Ryan Tannehill played solid. Don't know what the Devontae Parker situation is, if he's injured or if he's just being listed as inactive to be inactive kind of thing. But the combination of Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore, I like. Frank Gore is now 4th all-time on the NFL rushing list. Very, very underrated running back. I don't think he was ever considered a superstar, but with his durability, his consistency, and his longevity, I think he's a for sure Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's first ballot, but he's a for sure Hall of Famer in his 2nd or 3rd year, I would probably guess. Great guy, defense playing better. Minkah Fitzpatrick filed a trademark for Fitzmagic, which I think is hilarious because almost every NFL fan I've seen has been calling Fitzpatrick of the Buccaneers Fitzmagic for the last couple weeks, and all of a sudden the Dolphins filed a trademark, which is understandable. He's been having a decent rookie season. Honestly kind of hate to face the Dolphins right now. They look to be confident, and facing a confident Miami team, whether they're the best, most talented team or not, is always dangerous. Because I don't know what it is about Miami, but when they're confident, they can beat you. It doesn't matter who you are. Not saying they will, but they can. At number 19, we have the Tennessee Titans with an impressive win over the Texans. And yes, the Texans are ranked higher, and the Titans are ranked outside the top 16, but like I said, these are close. One thing to note to me was the Titans got beefed up a little bit in their ranking. They moved up 2 spots because of guts. When you call a fake punt that results in a 60-yard touchdown, you must have some major guts. I don't see many teams ever calling a play like that. To actually call it, and pull it off is amazing. If Vrabel and the Titans can keep plays like that in their back pocket and pull them out when they need to and have the guts to actually use them, this Titans team could do something special. And I'm not talking about quarterback throwing a touchdown pass to himself in the playoffs special. I'm talking about upsetting whoever they want special. Because teams are going to have to start planning for these trick plays, and game planning for certain plays takes away from your time game planning for other ones. Hopefully Marcus Mariota comes back healthy. That's also a big part of it as well. They should be ranked higher, but without Delaney Walker, it's hard. It's really hard to rank them too much higher. It's still an unknown commodity kind of thing. At number 18, we have the Denver Broncos. Stayed pretty even. Case Keenum struggled a little bit. I believe he's thrown 4 interceptions in the first 6 quarters as a Bronco as compared to 7 interceptions last year. I believe it's 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, like I've said many times. Defense played solid. Not as good as in Week 1, but then again, they faced the Seahawks in Week 1. They did face a Raiders team and won on a last-second field goal. Or not last second, technically 6 seconds left. So congrats to them for that. That was a good win, good solid win. They earned it. They are now, I believe, 2-0. But the level of competition with the Seahawks and Raiders isn't too high, so I'm not quite sure where they should stack up in the AFC, let alone in the NFL. They do have a couple of decent tests in the upcoming weeks, so that should really determine where they rank. If they get another couple solid wins, they could very well be climbing in the top 15, top 10. At number 17, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2-0, gaining 7 spots as our winner of the week, I should say. Ryan Fitzpatrick has played absolutely crazy. He did throw an interception this week, but absolutely crazy. And for the second week in a row, he's made me regret my life decisions by benching Deshaun Jackson for the second week in a row, because if you're me, you couldn't necessarily change your lineup after like 7 a.m. was when I was able to change it, and the injury report said, hey, Deshaun Jackson's hurt, he might not play, and I'm like, I can't risk it. But then Fitzpatrick fucking made me regret it with an opening play, 75-yard touchdown to my boy Deshaun Jackson. Seeing Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans happy or healthy like that is awesome. Getting O.J. Howard put into the mix is also awesome as well. I think as a prospect, O.J. Howard was highly ranked, but he's kind of been hitting in the shadows for last year. So it's nice to see him show up. Running backs playing better, defense playing better. This Bucs team could literally beat anybody. I mean, granted, they beat an Eagles team without Alshon Jeffrey, Carson Wentz, and I believe someone else went down, but I'm not sure who exactly. I don't think it was Aguilar. I think it was someone else, but still, Ertz playing very solid. That deserves a note. But Bucs 17, I think it's well deserved. They could be up there 2-0. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lead the NFC South 2 weeks into the season over the Panthers, Falcons, and Saints. It's crazy. It's been about 18 and a half minutes, so let's try to make the top 16 quicker. I do apologize for these being so long, but I like talking about them and ranting. That's why I said it's like a podcast, so please just forgive me. I'll try to make these quicker eventually. And at first we have the Chicago Bears at number 16, gaining 3 spots. Not much to say about this team in particular. I like the combination of Trevathan and Mack on defense. They look to be really good. Mack had yet another sack, another forced fumble. So he's playing absolutely crazy for the Bears, and he's been worth it for those draft picks. So he's added a dimension to that defense that they haven't really had since I've been watching football. Granted, they had Brian Urlacher, but I think it's almost fair to say at this point that Urlacher was no Khalil Mack. And Trubisky's playing more solid. Howard and Tariq Cohen didn't have their best games at running back, but Trubisky still did what he needed to do to get the win, which is good. I believe Trey Burton, the tight end from the Phillies, that they got a touchdown, which is nice to see him involved. The wide receivers look better. And I think the Bears being ranked up is a sign of Trubisky growing as quarterback, which is nice. I wasn't a high fan of Trubisky at 2, I will admit that, but still, to see him play solid football is fun. The Chicago Bears are some of the most loyal fans, or some of the most ruthless fans, depending on how you look at it, in the league. So it's good to see them get some wins. And then at number 15, a team I struggled with placing them this high, and I probably won't again if they pull off another shit act like this, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they are 0-1-1, so they are winless to start the season after 2 weeks. But they are also only have 1 loss, so there's that. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are amazing. So it's hard when someone loses a close game against a great team. I will give them credit. They were down 21-0 and came back a little bit in this game. So there's that. Their defense couldn't stop a blind Tim Tebow in that game, though. That defense looked awful. The secondary was so bad with Artie Burns and the safeties just failing. Especially, I think it was Tremaine Edmonds, however you pronounce his name. Just played so badly. He was supposed to cover people, but he'd get scared and cover someone else thinking they were going to beat the team, and then the other person would beat him because they're not being covered like he's supposed to do. But then again, that's how you grow as a rookie, is you get your ass kicked sometimes. So hopefully he turns around. And Juju Smith-Schuster had a game, but I'm going to chalk that more up to the fact that they were losing by so much and they had to throw it. James Conner didn't have too much of a game, but a lot of the analysts some of the analysts during the game were chalking that up to him being so used in week 1 that they couldn't really use him too much in week 2. Big Ben played better. Like I said, I struggle putting this team up this high. I don't know if Le'Veon Bell's coming back anytime soon, but James Conner coming up off a week where he didn't get used too much will probably bounce back, and the Steelers, I believe, face the Buccaneers in week 3, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be an interesting team. Winner, no doubt, gets a top 15 spot. Loser probably drops down to outside of loser probably drops. Hopefully Big Ben turns it around, because if his team starts 0-3 or 0-4 and someone in his division who's a little bit up ahead starts 3-0, 4-0, Big Ben could be fighting just for a wild card spot, and he's one of those quarterbacks that she struggles on the road, so when he loses at home, that's never a good thing. At number 14, we have the Carolina Panthers facing a tough loss against the Falcons. They only dropped 1 spot here. Christian McCaffrey in his second year had his record for the most scrimmage yards he's had in a game. I believe it was like 137, 149, somewhere around there. The wide receivers played good. Cam Newton played well. I think it was more of their defense got exploited a little bit. It was a tough game against a tough team. I think the Panthers are one of those teams that are right in the middle of the pack right now. They have room for improvement, definitely. When Thomas Davis comes back from his 4-game suspension, the defense should improve, obviously. So 14, I feel comfortable with them at 14, especially ahead of the Steelers, just because they've played more consistent. And with me, I appreciate consistency more so than a team that has like one incredible game every like 4 weeks and then kind of plays bad the other 3 weeks kind of thing. And so that's why they're ranked up here. At number 13, we had the Chargers gaining 3 spots, beating the Bills. Not quite handedly, but one reason why I bumped them up a little bit, Phillip Rivers playing solid football. Mike Williams, their rookie pick from last year, who missed a lot of games, played some solid football. But the major thing that made me bump them up in this power rankings, this division, the standings, whatever you want to call it, is the fact that they now have 2 running backs that they're getting mixed into the action. Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. I think his name is Austin. If it's not Austin, I extremely apologize. That is my bad, and I'm stupid as fuck. But having Eckler and Gordon as two weapons you can use in the running back field will probably preserve each of them a little bit more, and if it happens that one of them gets hurt, the other one can fill in admirably as well. The offensive line is playing better, the defense is playing better than I thought, and Hunter Henry, I believe that their tight end that partially tore his ACL or MCL in the preseason, is running already? It's week 2. Boy hasn't even been out 8 weeks, I think, and he's already running on a torn ACL. The boy could be back by week 9, and that would be a tremendous boost for these Chargers. Right now, I might not have them as division contenders, per se, because, you get the Chiefs in the division, but the Chargers definitely look like one of the teams that could charge for a wild card spot. At number 12, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who got beat bad by the Bengals. And I say beat bad by the Bengals. The score isn't that bad necessarily. Alex Collins didn't have a great game as well. Buck Allen had an okay game. I think he got hurt. I'm trying to remember watching the game on Thursday night. That's what I don't like about Thursday night games, is I forget some of this shit. Like, I watched the game, but then watching all the Sunday football games, I kind of forget about what happened on Thursday. But I do remember A.J. Green lighting them up for 3 touchdowns in the first half, so I know they missed Jimmy Smith, who will be back after his 4-game suspension. So we got 2 weeks left, so if they can make it out 2-2 and get him back, they should play well. Their defense did struggle a lot in that game, but I definitely see where they can improve. Wide receivers didn't play as well as they did in week 1. But the combinations of Crabtree, Snead are still such a solid combination for the Baltimore Ravens team. I think they could realistically be a challenge for anybody in the NFL right now. Now, that's with Jimmy Smith. They could be a challenge for any team in the NFL. They have to be careful how they handle the next 2 weeks, but I think they're a solid team. I think 12 is very deserving. And some of these rankings ahead get a little weird, I will admit, so there is that warning. We had the Saints dropping 3 spots after a win to the Browns because it's kind of the Browns and they barely won. I don't know what's up with the Saints, but you have Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Drew Brees. You shouldn't be almost losing to the Browns. I mean, I'm not saying the Browns are a terrible team. They're an okay team. But when you're supposed to be the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees, Thomas, and all those weapons on offense, granted you don't have Ingram, you shouldn't barely win against the Browns. I mean, granted they won, but that game showed a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns for the Saints. And if they don't pull this around, they could very well miss out on the playoffs, which would suck. Getting Ingram back in a couple weeks should help. But still, I need to see more from the Saints. So, granted, it sucks to drop them down, and they are 11th, but there's major concerns that almost caused me to drop them lower. At number 10, we have the Houston Texans. Yes, I know, before anybody says anything, they're 0-2. Yes, I know they lost to the Patriots and the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans are ranked 19th. Yet, I'm aware of that. Defense played much more solid in this game. And like I said, for the Titans, I would have gamed them up more, but a trick play basically won them the game. The Texans only lost 17-20, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. The offense played better. Hopkins didn't play well. The one reason why I had the Texans at 10th is Will Fuller. Now, I mentioned in the Week 2 power rankings after the Patriots-Texans game that I think the major weakness for the Texans was not really having a second weapon to complement Hopkins to exploit defenses. Fuller came back. Fuller played well. Deshaun Watson shows to be improving. He's still coming off an injury. I think Deshaun Watson will continue to improve and will be a great young quarterback. Lamar Miller had an okay game. It was looked to me like a little bit of an off game. So, granted, they didn't necessarily deserve to jump as much higher, but I think, like I said before, it's more of a product of the teams below. I mean, look at the 5 teams below them. Saints struggled against the Browns. Ravens got badly beat by the Bengals. Chargers, they have such an injury history. They would make a ER cry. The Panthers struggled certain times as well. Steelers 0-1-1 struggled so badly against the Browns that the Saints did. Bears, it's like I said, all these teams are close. It's hard. But anyway, yeah, Texans won. I think it's the fact that they have Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Lamar Miller on offense. Their defense with Tyrann Mathieu seems to be improving. Yes, they did lose, but I contribute that loss more to that trick play than anything else. They played a really good game. Without that 7 points from that trick play, it would have been 17-13. I'm not gonna say, oh my god, they should have won it. They fairly lost, but still, I'm not gonna hurt them in the power rankings too much for that unless they go 0-3. I don't like to overreact too much in the first couple of weeks, and I think that's more of why right there. Then at number 9 we have the Patriots dropping 4 spots. As a Patriots fan, it hurt. It hurt my gut to see the defense just play so lackadaisical. They couldn't stop Yeldon. They couldn't stop the other running back. They couldn't stop any wide receiver. They couldn't stop anybody. Oh my god, I apologize for that. One reason why I didn't sync them lower, and yes, I was tempted to shoot up the Bears and shoot down the Patriots, but like I said, I don't want to overreact too badly. One thing that kept me from doing that is they did trade for Josh Gordon from the Cleveland Browns, and another factor in that made me not drop him so much is they said the MRI came back and it's not anything serious, so he could likely play this week against the Lions. And the fact that they do play the Lions this week. So, if they lose to the Lions and their defense plays like shit, so help me God, the Patriots will go down quicker than a clogged toilet. But I'm keeping them there. They still have Tom Brady. They still have a decent running back core with Burkhead and White. Sonny Michel showed up well. That offensive line played like shit. The defense played like shit with absolutely no pressure. It was the Super Bowl all over again. Chris Hogan, 2 touchdowns though. At number 8, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and I should put them up here. I forgot to after the last team. They are also the biggest gainers of the week, and there is a guy I follow on Twitter. His name is Vance Meek. He is honestly one of the most hilarious people to follow, at least for me personally, because I think what he tweets out is funny. He is a Bengals fan through and through, and if you ever want to have a laugh, tweet him and mention how good Marvin Lewis is. And actually, that might not even be funny. He might actually just come at you. So be careful. Be careful. This guy is a vicious Bengals fan. And I tweeted him, and he made a tweet that made sense. He said he didn't want to overreact to the Bengals being 2-0. He wanted to see how they did after a few more weeks. But Bengals are 2-0. The defense that the Ravens had against the Bills didn't look like the defense. Granted, it was the Bills. I will announce that. They played amazing against the Bills, but then got beat by the Bengals. The Chargers beat the Bills. That's not really a baseline for any comparison. 3 touchdowns to A.J. Green in the first quarter, so if you had A.J. Green in your fantasy league, you might have won that damn thing by Thursday night. God, it was amazing. Mixon's hurt, I believe, for 2 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, something like that, so that is going to be a huge dent in their chances to win games in the future. But one reason why I didn't drop them and I actually gained them 7 spots in the power rankings this week is Tyler Boyd looks to be showing up, and Eifert is getting more involved in that offense as well. It looks like they have 2 solid tight ends and at least 2 solid wide receivers in A.J. Green and Boyd. Granted, A.J. Green is a great wide receiver, but he does get shut out a little bit, but I think with a second weapon that will open him up tremendously. Giovanni Bernard, I don't know who they have behind him with Mixon out, but hopefully the running back position is okay. The offensive line is playing better. They improved from week 1 to week 2, which is good, which is what they needed. The defense played well as well. Atkins played tremendous. Atkins is quickly becoming one of my favorite defensive players in the league. He just seems like a great guy. Jackson on the DB Jackson did struggle a little bit on some plays, but then again, a lot of DBs do struggle on some plays. But they are a more complete team, I think, than many of the teams below them. They're just playing solid football on the front and the back. And I think the biggest thing that might cost them this year is the coaching, because I hate Marvin Lewis. And I believe if they had any other coach, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, Kyle Shanahan, Josh McDaniels, Frank Reich, the guy who's coaching the Colts now, they'd be a much better team. But they have Marvin Lewis, one of the most inept postseason coaches I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, enough about him. At number 7, I have the Atlanta Falcons gaining 2 spots. Solid win over the Panthers. Their offense played better. I liked that they got Calvin Ridley more involved. The one thing that concerns me here is Devontae Freeman, I believe, is also injured for the next couple weeks. But Tevin Coleman has proven before he can handle the load on offense. But with Julio Jones and now Calvin Ridley getting mixed in on the offense as well, it shouldn't be a huge load for Tevin Coleman. I think Sarkisian, as bad as a play caller he is offensively, is getting better with Matt Ryan. The defense did lose some superstars, but I think they're still a tremendously talented set. Brady Garrett, or Grady, I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now. He played better. The defense as a unit played better. 7th ranked team in leagues. Nothing to joke at, but injuries are starting to hit teams, and they're one of the teams that got hit hard by injuries. Then we have the Philadelphia Eagles at number 6. I feel dirty placing the Eagles here. I do. Part of that's mainly because of injuries. Now, let me quote this, and you can quote me on this right now. The Philadelphia Eagles are not the 6th best team in the NFL. When healthy, they are probably in the top 2 teams in the NFL. Alshon Jeffrey's still out for, I think, the next 2 to 3 weeks. They lost another player to injury. Carson Wentz is just coming back off his first game off a torn ACL, so we'll see how he is. Definitely, I would say that the Eagles are ranked here more because of injury than anything else. Another concern is, before the game, Malcolm Jenkins came out saying that he wasn't scared of Mike Evans, he was more scared of Deshaun Jackson because speed. And speed is obviously going to be one of the things that DBs fear the most because speed is a dangerous weapon. And then immediately Deshaun Jackson burns him for a 75-yard touchdown. I'm not saying everyone's going to do that against the Eagles, but they got burnt badly by a Bucs team. But with Carson Wentz and the injuries starting to heal up, hopefully they bounce back. Still probably my team to win the NFC East, despite the Cowboys probably being number 1 technically right now with a tie. And then at number 5 and 4, I'll do these 2 together, Packers and Vikings. They tied. They are both 1-0-1. They are the second tie in 2 weeks, which is absolutely atrocious. I don't want to see this bullshit. Things I would do to alleviate this tie rule. In fact, I'm not gonna go with what everyone says to just let them play until someone scores, because granted, playing for, let's say if you play like 3 overtimes, that's gonna, for football, all those extra hits could wear and tear on people. It's almost as bad as playing Sundays than Thursday. But my thing, like one thing that I think, and I don't think any other people really thought of this, is I'm watching hockey. After so many overtimes in hockey, they have a shootout to determine the winner. Why not do that in football? Now you're like, how would you do this? How would you do a shootout in football? Now, they say the kicker is not an important position. They say it doesn't matter paying your kicker, but look at who lost this week because of the kickers. Browns lost because of a kicker. Last week, a lot of people lost because of a kicker. Stephen Gostkowski missed a field goal this week. Even the Patriots I'm not going to say they lost because of a kicker, but they lost, and their kicker played like shit. Now, imagine a shootout where you have the opposing kickers kicking field goals consecutively from 25 yards, 30 yards, 35 yards, 40 yards. And it's like a shootout. If you both make the first one, fantastic. If you both make the second one, fantastic. But like when you hit the third one, if one of you makes it, one of you misses, boom, game over. It doesn't put any extra injury risk on your wide receivers, tight ends, defensive players, so you don't have to worry about an overtime game costing you your quarterback for the season. Granted, it's not very anticlimactic on how to do it, but I'm thinking like at the point to where a blocked field goal, we've seen that before with the Steelers Browns already this year. A blocked field goal in a shootout that wins someone a game, I think would be tremendously exciting. Now, both of these teams, quarterbacks played well, running backs played well. Kind of questionable call on Clay Matthews, I will admit it there. But, I think overall the Vikings' defensive unit is a little bit better. That's why they're ranked 4th, and the Packers are ranked 5th. Aaron Rodgers having a great season so far, so that's good. And then at number 3, we have the Kansas City Chiefs gaining 4 spots. It's hard to crack the top 2 for the Chiefs, but when you had Kelsey have a tremendous game, Hill have a game, Watkins have a game, Connolly have a game, Kareem have a game, when you have all those weapons and they all have a great game, it's almost impossible to lose. Defense did look a little questionable at times. That's the only concern for me here. To me, though, they do look like the second best team in the AFC right now, which is amazing. Patrick Mahomes set an NFL record, I believe, for 10 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of a team's season. Not the most touchdowns for 2 consecutive weeks, because I believe Tom Brady had 11 in weeks, I think, 6 and 7 in 2007. I'm not quite sure on the exact weeks, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but the Chiefs, if you're a Chiefs fan, you could punch your ticket to the AFC Championship game, probably. I don't see, unless someone gets hurt, how anybody stops the Chiefs. Like I said, I don't want to overreact too much, so I'm not going to say they're unbeatable, but to me, they're probably the heavy favorites against almost anybody except for the Jags defense. Speaking of the Jags defense, at number 2 we have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off an ass whooping against the New England Patriots. The Patriots offensive line and defensive line look like rookies. TJ Yeldon proved to be a solid backup for Leonard Fournette. Hopefully Leonard Fournette comes healthy this week or next week at the latest, because I like seeing him play. Blake Bortles had a good game, ran well, threw well. Wide receivers had a good game, even though I don't really know any of their names. I do apologize for that. Defense had a great game. Miles Jack played well. Jalen Ramsey played well. Ngakoue played well. Calais Campbell, who was on the injury report that morning, ended up playing well as well. Good solid game for the Jaguars. And then you have the Rams at number 1. I think I read a report about them firing their kicker. I hope to God that's not true, because he's my kicker in fantasy, and that would be just sad. But anyway, the only facet of the game they struggled in that game would probably be the kicker. But offense played well. Gurley just lit up the scoreboard. They were not letting up on the Cardinals, and I felt so bad, because it looked like when there's that high school fight and like everyone's in that circle and everyone's like, oh yeah, fight. Then after one punch, like the kid gets knocked out and the other kid just starts like kicking him in the head and the stomach and the gut and the ribs and just keeps kicking him. That was the Rams. And they just kept kicking the Cardinals and just kicking them and just kicking their ass. It was kind of funny, but kind of sad, especially if you're a Cardinals fan. If you're still watching the game at the point, you're like, please, just take it easy. Can't handle much more. And a little funny note to end off this video is KD was mentioning something about the Rams. He was joking with it. KD being Kevin Durant, if you're not familiar with basketball. And it made Sean McVay make a comment about how, like, hey, KD, come play for the Rams. And he's like, God, using a 6'9" wide receiver in the end zone would be amazing. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, imagine if like for one game the Rams had LeBron James and Kevin Durant at tight end or wide receiver or something, and just like the vertical they have, that would be funny to watch. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you next week. Peace.